Hi, Gloria.
Hello,
How are you?
I'm well. How are you, Beth?
Good, thank you. So I'm Beth. I'm a business advisor with the Small Business Development Center at Lorain County Community College, and I'm here with Gloria Ware from Get the Bag. And Gloria has extensive knowledge about funding, grants, has extensive background in this entrepreneurial ecosystem in Northeast Ohio and working with entrepreneurs. So, Gloria, tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, I am super passionate about working with entrepreneurs. I have had about 30 years experience working with them in the capacity of being a banker, a business banker, a women's business owner advocate, and an advocate for entrepreneurs of color. And then the last 12 years, I've worked in economic development and venture capital with a touch of philanthropy, all serving diverse entrepreneurs, ensuring that they have the access to capital, resources, and information that they need to be successful, to grow and thrive. So I've worked across all spectrums of funding, right, from loans to bootstrapping to venture capital to crowdfunding. And Get the Bag is I'm the CEO and founder of Get the Bag, which is about powering up and promoting Black women entrepreneurs. We offer information about business funding resources, which is available for everyone, and then opportunities for business owners to secure customer capital through our business gifting services. Yeah. So have been familiar with Lorain Community College for at least 12 years and the SBDCs, have worked with them in a number of capacities, and so have some good relationships with some of the team members there. So I'm happy to be part of your podcast series.
Yeah, I'm happy to have you, and I'm happy that I've known you a while and had the pleasure of working with you, and you are an amazing person, an amazing wealth of information. So it's wonderful that our entrepreneurs have access to your knowledge. So last time we chatted about grants, and you shared some great information about grants, but then offline we continued to talk, and we were talking about what's beyond grants, right? And so I think it's beyond grants, the funding spectrum is what we're going to talk about today.
Yes.
Yeah. And so you've shared some points with me, and one of those, the first point is needing a diverse array of funding across your business. So can you touch on that some more?
Yeah, I think a lot of times when business owners think of funding, they either kind of think of what do I need now, or what do I need now and for the next 5 years, but I need it all at one time. Right.
Yeah, right.
So, and because I think business grants is something that seems to be the most accessible for all business owners, and there's a lot of articles and talk about business grants. That's something that a lot of business owners lean into initially, but there are, as a business owner, we should be thinking about just kind of, I like to think of it as, I'm an Ohio State Buckeye, so sorry about our loss this past Saturday. But I'm not necessarily a huge football fan, but like I can really get into college football. So I like to think of funding as kind of like the football field, right? And you have a specific goal that you're trying to get to, but it's going to take you lots of different kind of downs or steps to get there along the way. And so you have a goal. You might, as a business owner, you have a specific goal for your business or goals for your business, or something that you want it to do for your life or for your community. But it takes, there's a lot of blocking and tackling to get to that point, right? And so each step of the way, from starting your business to the business is starting to grow, to now the business is scaling, and now you're taking it international if that's what you want to do, or you've sold it, now it's public. So they're all different kind of funding needs that you have, and there's specific types of funding tools that are available for you. So I do think it's important for you to think about, and this is where a business plan comes into play. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of a lot of business planning templates and this, just kind of the way we think of business planning, but
Right.
thinking ahead as to what is it that I want to do for my business? Maybe where do I want to be 5 years from now? And where do I need to be this year, right? For over the next
Right.
12 months, where do I need to be? And so what are those kind of key downs or milestones that I need to achieve to get to the end of this year? And then as you think about those milestones, because this is the way that a lot of funders think about too. Like, what do you need now and why? And then what is that going to do for you down the road?
Right.
Because they're concerned about down the road because they're either monetizing, they're going to be, become wealthy with you as your business becomes successful, or they need to know that your business is going to make that community impact, or that you're going to be able to repay the loan.
Right.
So thinking about what do I need, maybe to where do I want to be a year from now, and then breaking that down into chunks and thinking about what are those expenses, what are those services that I need to purchase or acquire, or products that I need to acquire in order to get me to that goal over the course of, say, 4 quarters throughout the year. Right. And then there are typically, for each stage of your business, there's kind of a commonly used set of funding resources. Most of us just think about loans from a bank or business grants, but there's other options along the way.
Yeah. And so before we get into some of those other options, you had mentioned in some notes to me about building a finance team to help design the right funding strategies.
Right.
And can you go into more about that? And at what point do you do that in your business?
Yeah, it is really important to have that finance team, because you are an expert at what you do, right? Whether you are building software, or you are, curating and selling the most amazing products for your retail store, you are making the most amazing pies. That's what you do, right? You're not a guru on finances, or thinking about all the options, or when is the right option for you, what's appropriate at what time. And so it's always important, despite what the portrayal of entrepreneurship is being kind of like, this single entity, doing everything, it's really a team sport. And the most successful entrepreneurs surround themselves with a good team, just like the football team, it takes more than a quarterback, right? It's like everyone plays a role. So a good financial team, I would say, what, for me, I started right out of the bat with an accountant, or a bookkeeper, or even a mentor, right? I'm sure that the SBDC offers resources, someone that has experience working with businesses, ideally businesses like yours, and working with business owners and helping them to build a financial plan. Yeah. And so definitely an accountant would be a good start. A subject, anyone that has experience, it could be a business owner, right? That's been there, done that, and is particularly good with managing their finances, or they've had a lot of experience with these things. It's always good to have someone that's in your industry, because every industry also has its own specific set of funding needs and tools. And so financial team is a banker, right? So you may not necessarily be ready for a bank loan yet, or a number of other bank financing products, but it's always good to have build that relationship with that banker early, so that they can, and bankers, not just one, right? Because different banks fund different things and have different underwriting requirements. So having some relationships with some bankers who can kind of just be there for you and see you as you're growing and you're doing the blocking and tackling and sharing in the successes with you. And then kind of coaching you on, hey, these are some of the things that you need to know about some of the funding options at this bank, or the way this bank looks at doing deals, or we don't do it, but I have someone at the credit union that I can refer you to that can that has some specific products for small business owners. So banker, an insurance agent, right? That's always very
Right.
important. One that's under, not always appreciated. But in some of these communities that have been ravaged by, tornadoes and fires and floods, that it can, it can be devastating on your business.
Right.
But at least, at the very least, having an accountant, and having an accountant who's a good communicator and who thinks more about you and your business as more than just kind of tax returns that need to be done at the end of the year.
Right.
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 They are able to, they understand financial projections, because not all accountants do that. Right.
That's
And they're
right.
good communicators, because not all accountants are great communicators. They just want to kind of get into the numbers and their world.
Mhm.
Right. And then they can coach you. They've worked with different types of businesses. Again, ideally businesses in your industry. Someone that works with a lot of contractors might not have a lot of experience working with the e-commerce entrepreneur, and so may not have an understanding of what your funding journey and pathway needs to be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I would, and then again, there's a number of resources available through the SBDC as well. So taking advantage of those, because it can really, it's not always fun, but it can make the journey a lot more, a lot less stressful having that,
Oh,
in that team.
1,000%. It is definitely something you need to start early on. And we can certainly at the SBDC help you start to understand your cash flow and projections and all of that, as well as connect you to accountants and bankers and that. But that's where networking comes in and so important. We're also focused usually on making or doing what we love.
Right.
But it's this piece is so important. And I agree, so important from the beginning. You can save yourself a lot of money in the long run.
Absolutely.
And headaches
and that business, right? You're doing that because there's a financial gain
right.
that you're trying to achieve. There's a financial goal that you're trying to achieve in service of the, the personal goals that you might have. Sure. Right. So I think sometimes we get so caught up in, our business and, serving our communities and doing what we love with the business, we forget, like, this is also, yes, this is a business, and the money part is a huge part of having a business, as opposed to, a charity or,
right.
A hobby.
Right. So let's circle back to some of those like funding tools you'd mentioned. What are some of those, like CDFIs and bartering and revenue-based financing?
Yeah. So there's, again, I think we tend to lean into, because there's a lot of talk and promotion, about grants, right? So we kind of think of that as being, and loans, and many of us, and particularly if you're, a woman or from a community of color, that can be, there's historic challenges with accessing debt capital. So sometimes we just don't even think of that as an option for us, right? But there are other pathways, when you're new and just getting started, even a business grant may be a challenge, because most even business grantors or maybe community lenders, they still want to see that you have a business, that there's something that people are buying and interested in. So you have to, a lot of times, put in your own capital. And sometimes, for some of us, that's very difficult to put in our own capital, right? So I like to think of the old school rent parties, back in the day, like in the 20s. People were very into the Depression. They were struggling, to pay their rent. And so they would kind of have their own fundraising or crowdfunding. They would invite people over to their home, and they would provide food, and people would kind of pay like a donation, and that money would be used to contribute to the rent, right? So just being creative like that. And those are ways that historically, before banks, that people raise money to accomplish a venture, right? So working, talking individually to people that might have a passion for what you're doing. So working with them to see if, just based upon their love of you and their excitement and passion for this mission, they might be interested in providing some upfront capital, even if it's a small loan just to get you started, or even just pre-selling your products, right? So taking orders. So say,
Right.
for example, if you want to have a catering business, but you need money to buy the equipment to do all the food, you can, and then there's platforms that actually make all of this, take the work off of you to do this, but you don't even really need the platforms. There's ways that you can get people excited about your product early, and pre-sale that funds maybe some of the initial equipment that you need. You want to make sure you're building in enough of a cushion so you can take that, some of the profits from those efforts, and reinvest it into your business. And you're moving slowly, but the key is you're building a track record of being able to execute on the things that you said that you could do, you wanted to do, and demonstrating that there is a market for your business.
Right.
So some organizations that exist to help business owners that may not necessarily be bank ready, and may even have some credit challenges, are CDFIs.
Mhm.
So community development financial institutions, and they are usually funded by the federal government and local banks, to help business owners that might not be bank ready to get bank ready. So they have a staff that helps you with your business planning and helps you with thinking about your funding needs, and they might even have some small micro loans to get you started. And then to that point of building the relationship, introducing you to the bankers, so that maybe a year from now, after you've, achieved all those goals, you've, scored a few touchdowns, they can hand you off to some more formal entities. And then there's MFIs, that's minority financial institutions. And those are organizations that are similar to CDFIs, but their focus is to serve minority business owners. And then there's a number of crowdfunding. I think some of us might be familiar with GoFundMe or
Kiva.
Kickstarter, Kiva.
Yeah.
So, but there's definitely a way to do it. And so I advise that you get that, some support to do crowdfunding, but there's crowdfunding platforms that allow you to start marketing and promoting your business and developing pre-orders. There are loan crowdfunding sites, right? So, and there are, donation based. It just, hey, I just like what you're doing, I want to contribute to that. And maybe you in return give some sort of gift or reward as in return for that. And then there's equity-based crowdfunding. There are ways that you can invite your community to share in building this great business with you. And so they kind of are serving as small investors alongside with you in your business. And many of these are things that did not exist 15 years ago, and are still relatively new, and they are constantly shifting, and there's more coming on the market. So those are resources that sometimes people either are not aware of, or maybe they don't necessarily have the right information about how to leverage that. Bartering is another great way, right? Because you basically need money because there's something you're trying to do.
Right.
You either need expertise, or you need to buy, merchandise, or you need space. And so if you have a specific skill or expertise, you can exchange that with someone else that has what you need. That's another kind of old school way that people would get things done back, 100 years ago, when everyone had to have some sort of small business. And then a newer one, and this is for you if you are doing really well, you're getting a lot of orders, people are really interested in what you're doing, but now you need money to buy more inventory, to maybe pay more people to take those orders, or something called revenue-based financing, which is relatively new. And you don't even necessarily have to be profitable. You don't have to have good credit. They just need to know that you have a strong sales pipeline, right? And you have customer demand. And then there's another one that I recently came across, and it's a new funding project tool, and it's called Convertible Income Share Agreement. And this is basically almost in a sense a character investment, in that the investors are investing in your ability to pay them back, whether it's through your business or it's through because maybe you have great skills, right? And you can always go back and get a job and still pay that investor
Sure.
back, right?
Sure. Right.
So, and then another underutilized one. So we're going to go get back to grants, but it's government grants that are not the huge government grants that sometimes you'll go on, you'll go to these grant websites and they just seem out of reach. But a lot of local communities, and even more so now with the American Rescue Plan Act funding, have grant dollars that are either contingent upon that American Rescue Act funding. This is like economic recovery dollars from the pandemic, but there's just other generic grant programs that exist that many small business owners are not aware of, right? So some of them provide match dollars. So, hey, you put $5,000 in, we'll put in another 5,000, or we'll put in 10,000. Some of them give you tax incentives, which is a form of, funding. Some of them offer training dollars for your employees. And some of them give you, there's one, I just came across, this one was like the Clean Air Energy Authority, and they provide funding for you. Say if you have an auto body shop and you've got some requirements or some equipment that you need to make to be in compliance with the EPA, they offer a $20,000 grant, plus they have financing available. Wow. So that's another resource. And then one that I'm really fond of are free services that are available through incubators, your chamber, other entrepreneur support resources. I'm a member of the President's Council, which is the Black Chamber in Cleveland, Ohio, and I benefited from some pro bono legal services to help develop a privacy policy for my website. And this is with it's with Dinsmore, which is a national law firm. And I was able to tap into the expertise of an attorney that's what she does exclusively, is works on privacy policies and data, protection at work. And I was able to, that's thousands of dollars.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So again, thinking of it as how can I get access to this service product space, maybe in a way that doesn't involve as much money, or there might be some resources that are providing that information and high quality information for free, because that's part of their give back. And then another big one for me is products and service sales, right? At the end of the day, all of these funders, whether you're a grantor, whether you are a lender, whether you're a venture capital, you care about, do people want to buy what you have?
That's right.
Right. And so starting with your customer, and there might be situations in which you're doing so well because you've been focused on your customer and understanding their needs and selling to them, that you might be able to push off some of that funding need to much further than you would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that's where an organization like the SBDC can help you, is because we can start with stuff like that. We can start with really helping you understand the business you're trying to do, how you're going to do it, who that customer is. And you may need even a smaller investment in the company than you thought you did. You may be able to start with, without investing anything, just your time, right?
Yes.
And so it's important to reach out to resources to really get all of this information and figure out what's best for you and put this plan together. Not only some sort of business plan, because like you, we don't believe in necessarily a traditional business plan, but some sort of plan, and put this financial team together and help you assess what the next steps for you are, or helping you. Even I had a client who had a big goal, and after we talked about it, that was going to need a large loan. We figured out she could start smaller, take out less money, and grow to that bigger goal. And so it's hard sometimes for people to do that, but that's where talking through with us and might be able to get you there faster than just going right for like $100,000 loan when you're not sure you even need that much money.
Yeah.
Right. Or what you don't always know what you need until you talk it through with someone.
The other thing about a good banker or a good accountant is that they can actually, work with you to get your financial reporting, and controls together. So that always know where you stand from a cash flow perspective, or how much cash you might need based upon your growth projections. And they can actually look at using your financial statements, and talking to you, they can look into your company operations and sometimes find cash
Right.
from how you're operating your company, right? Like if you
Right.
have a ton of product that you got, for a big sale, and maybe nothing really happened, but you're still holding out that you're going to sell those products, that's cash sitting on your shelf, right? And so maybe you might not, be able to make as much money on it, but marking it down and selling it, that's cash that you can use to invest in something else or pay down debt.
Right.
And so that's what a good financial team, they have those insights and experiences and know-how to actually kind of go through your operations. Or, hey, you're paying your vendors on time, every time, right? You're paying them as soon as you get that invoice. And maybe that's not necessarily a requirement, but you believe in like prompt, speedy payments. But you could maybe use that cash, right? If you could negotiate a 30-day payment for that company, that's cash that you could use to maybe buy inventory and turn that around to turn into more
That's
cash.
Right.
Right. So there's just little insights like that a good team will help you to not only help you to kind of introduce you to, but eventually coach you so that you start getting actually excited about looking at your financial statements and you can make those decisions on your own.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that, a big takeaway from this discussion and then our grant discussion is just do your research, be open to other possibilities, put a good team together, and know that there's a lot of different ways to get to your end goal.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
And I would always say too, right now, it may not be in the plans for you to ever, I have no intention of borrowing, right? You might say,
That's
I have
right.
no intention of ever going to an investor, but things might change very quickly where you might have to be in a situation where there's a huge opportunity, you need cash quickly, right? And you need to be able to get somebody that can make a decision relatively quickly. These entities don't make quick decisions.
Right.
But relatively quickly. And you don't want to start from building the relationship when you need the money.
That's right.
You always want to have, these relationships already established so that you can have multiple options when that opportunity, makes itself apparent. You can quickly turn to your 2 or 3 contacts, get some competitive bids and some offers. They know you, they've seen you grow your business, they've seen you go through the pandemic and pivot and be successful, right? They understand the market, and then they're ready. They're like, oh yes, I'm so glad I'm ready to do business with you. So always be selling, right? Always be build that relationship. Because number one, it's a learning process for you, helps you to be a better business owner and more informed of your options. But 2, there will be that time when you're going to need cash quickly. You want to be able to have invested in those relationships early so that you can get a good return on investment from the time spent.
That's right. Yeah, absolutely. Well, this was fantastic information as always. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with me and to help our clients understand the funding spectrum. So I look forward to chatting with you again. So thank you so much, Gloria.
Thank you.